Welcome to the Follow Through Podcast. I'm John.
I'm Erica.
And what this podcast is we plan to talk about everything from fitness, health, nutrition, mental health, and everything in between. So on today's episode, we just want to tell you a little bit about who we are and why we decided to do this podcast in the first place. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. My name is John. I am a veteran personal trainer of about 15 years. I have trained clients of all ages, shapes, sizes, and personalities. I'm also a teacher as well. I'm a autistic physical education teacher and a behavioral interventionist. So basically, I'm getting hit all day long, and among other things. I am also, on top of that, a sports psychology graduate student at Capella University. I will be graduating this December. And I am also a public speaker as of yesterday. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that as we go on this journey together. So I'm going to throw it over to Erica so she can tell you a little bit about herself.
Yep. So I'm Erica. Basically, first things first, I'm a mom. I have a 12-year-old daughter, Layla, and I have my husband. I'm a software quality assurance engineer by trade, but I have a deep love for nutrition and fitness. So I started my journey years and years and years ago, probably close to 20 years ago at this point, with health and wellness, with cooking, with all kinds of things. And I do have social media that I cook on, and I give recipes to those that are looking for macro-friendly recipes, because macros are kind of my jam. But I have recently started embarking on a journey to get some nutrition certifications. So I'm starting with a PN1, and then I'm going to work to a NASM, and I've got hopes and dreams and all kinds of things that I'm working towards, and it's very exciting. So that's going to be a big part of what I talk about here on the podcast. I think that nutrition is a topic that there's a lot out there that isn't accurate around nutrition, right? So let's start doing some debunking of those things that we hear and call out the bullshit. So that's just right off the bat, I'm going to say, like, we don't want to talk about, we want to talk about the truths around nutrition, right? And, you know, a big part of this podcast is that, you know, John and I have been friends for well over 20 years.
That's
and
right.
Yes. And we met in college. We both went to Penn State University, Penn State McKeesport, represent. We met there. We went through school together. You know, original paths, like my original path in schooling was meteorology. And I loved the weather since I was a little girl. And then I saw how much physics it involved, and I was like, no, thank you. So I switched to computers, and I got my degree in information sciences. And then it was basically pretty quickly when I went into, you know, doing my internship that I was like, what kind of IT do I really want to do? And I came up with quality assurance engineering, which I don't quite remember how that fell into my lap. But I did my internship with quality assurance, and I had done a couple of courses around human-computer interaction that really intrigued me. So I basically am a manual QA tester, and I have been for well over 20 years now, and I focus a lot on UX, so user experience. So when you use something, you know how to use it, it's easy to use, you know, it's not frustrating. That's a lot what I focus on. So John and I did that. We met in college, and we kept our friendship through the years. And of course, we had years where we didn't talk, we weren't in communication. You went your way with stuff, I went my way, I had a family. And we've come back together over the years. And I think that John and I have a very unique relationship in that it doesn't matter how much time passes. When we get back together, it's like no time has passed.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, yeah, this is really exciting. I think we're going to have a really fun time on this podcast.
I totally agree. And I think we're going to uncover a lot. about ourselves that we didn't know about each other, even though we've known each other over 20 years, which is hard to believe. But
time flies.
Yeah, but I think for me, I know when we met in college, I was going for elementary education, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna be a teacher, and I'm gonna change kids' lives, which I do currently. But the road to where I'm currently at was not a straight line. It was a very windy path, and a lot of failing, and a lot of debunking what I thought I wanted to do. And then the love of training came in, and trying to help people better themselves, and learning the psychology of why people do what they do, and just figuring out that progress is not a linear thing, and
no, it is not.
We all have ups and downs, and twists and turns, and shitty things that happen in our lives, and
really shitty things that happen in our lives.
And then all of a sudden you get to what what is usually called a flow state, where everything just starts to click.
Yep.
And I think now that I'm basically in my mid-40s, I'm finding that out.
Yep.
And as we go through this podcast episode by episode, we're hopefully going to uncover, a lot of that for ourselves, as well as, our listeners who are listening to us talk about, our personal experiences with things, as well as getting feedback, hopefully, from you guys. And, you telling us what your perspectives are, and you asking us things that we want to talk about, and you want us to talk about, and we just want to create a very nice, conversation between us and the listeners.
And a safe space.
And a safe space.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that we're missing safe spaces in the world to talk about these bigger topics that we're going to be bringing up.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think right now in our culture, we have a lot of people who they're very set in, especially with, quote, influencers. They have what they think to be true, and, that's great. That's whatever. But I think if you don't subscribe to one thing, then you're wrong about everything else. So, like Eric is, you just said about creating a safe space, I think is really important, because it gives people the license to be able to share ideas without being judged.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I definitely think that this podcast is a little bit unique in that we are trying to create a safe space. We are trying to create conversations that happen around real issues that people want to wrestle around with.
Yeah.
They want answers, and they need strategies, and hopefully between the two of us,
life experiences,
life experience, and professional experience, we'll be able to give our thoughts and feelings on
and help
topics.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for the spaces we're going to talk about, right? As far as John's concerned, and he's talking about the fitness world, in the personal training world, and expectations for men in that realm. Exactly. I'm going to talk about it from the women's perspective, expectations of us, especially moms, right? I'm in my 40s too. I mean, I'm hitting mid 40s. I'm at a very high peak in my career. I'm embarking on this journey of nutrition, training and everything like that, which has been a blast so far. I took a lot of years to educate myself just on my own, right? Which you did too. I mean, even though you had a lot of schooling, you were just learning as you went, right?
I pretty much learned from the trainers that I had.
Right.
I had a really, really good trainer. His name is Jimmy. And I still keep in touch with him now. He was my first trainer ever. And now he is basically my mentor. So whenever I have, doubts or questions about, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? He is a great resource for me, which sucks because I haven't really talked to him in quite some time just because of, life happens.
Life, yeah,
and,
absolutely. Well, you're a little busy too.
You're
a little busy.
I'm a little busy, yeah. But I always try and make time for the important people in my life. But in ways of training, basically I fell into it, and I've turned it into something that I'm obviously really good at.
Passionate about?
And, well, now I'm passionate about it. When I started, I was like, I can make this a side career and make money. That's obviously not the case. It's more about the people, and it's about trying to make a difference in people's lives and help them better themselves and see them, create healthy existences for themselves. And and it's a very positive headspace to find yourself in.
Yeah.
And it's one that I'm, finding myself enjoying the more that I'm in this career. So, and you've been on my journey for quite some time.
Yep, I've got to watch you grow.
It's
been awesome.
Well, it doesn't feel awesome at times, but
and you know what? That's a good thing. It's a good thing that it doesn't feel awesome, because first of all, as you said earlier, progress isn't linear. Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna go through these waves, and it's not gonna feel so great sometimes, and you're gonna fail.
Right.
You're going to go through some serious struggle.
Right.
And that all helps you get to that successful piece of the journey.
Right.
Right.
Right. And I could wallpaper the walls with rejection letters.
Sure.
And, bad reviews, and we'll talk about that later. But you have to fail before you make it. And if you haven't made it yet, you gotta fake it. Because you're your biggest cheerleader. Which I've found out.
You can't count
years.
on people being in your corner
if
you're not in your own corner.
Exactly.
I mean, that is true across the board for anything you do in life.
Right. Because at the end of the day, nobody really cares about you and what you're doing, because they're so wrapped up in their own shit that it's very hard for somebody to focus on your stuff and your progress, unless, they are family or somebody very close to you, which makes perfect sense. But but now with me adding the grad school crap, it's not crap, but
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of writing, and I'm totally finished. But it adds to credibility, it adds to opportunities, it adds to nothing but good stuff. And it also helps you understand your clients better, and it also helps you understand just people in general better. Why do we do the shit that we do, and why do people act the way that they do? It's a whole different kind of interesting scenarios that I find myself in, because especially when you're dealing with the public, you sit down with somebody. It's like, why are you here today? What's your goals? Well, and then fill in the blank, and it's very weird sometimes to listen to why people come to you about, like, I want to lose weight because...
That's my question. What is the most common thing that you get? Is it that I want to lose weight?
No.
Okay. Or is it just that I want to be a healthier version of me?
What I usually get is, yes, I want to lose weight. But the reasoning is, it's wild sometimes. What I usually get is, because usually when I sit down with somebody, the first question I ask is, why did you come see me today? What brings you in? And that question alone opens the floodgates for all the things, all the feels.
It's like you have to emotionally prepare yourself.
I've gotten to a place where I don't really need to prepare myself, as I need to just be present with whatever it is that somebody is going to tell me. Usually I can tell right before they sit down as to why they're here. Sure. I've gotten to the place where
you can read them.
I can anticipate.
Yeah. Yep.
So when somebody sits down with me and says, John, I need help losing weight, usually there comes a subset of issues as to why it has led them to come see me. So whether it's I lost my spouse, I am depressed, I'm anxious, I have a wedding coming up, I have some sort of event, deadlines. So it can be any number of reasons as to why somebody is coming to see me, or any trainer for that matter, as to why they want to improve upon themselves. Now, I've had a couple people come and sit down and say, I don't want to change anything about myself. I will not do anything that you recommend. I'm here because my doctor has pointed me. They're being forced. And like, on some level, I get it. If this is your last ditch effort before you get off the freeway of life and, succumb to, being bedridden or, having...
Or a worse fate.
That's great. I'm at least happy you made the car ride over to me to give you information that you're probably not going to use, which doesn't make sense, but peace of mind, I guess. But if... And I totally forgot where I was going with that. But if somebody, takes the time to understand, why they're feeling a certain way, or why their energy is low, or why, something just isn't jiving the way it should, of course, I'm going to develop, treatment plans and training plans that are going to help you progress. Now, does that mean you're not going to regress? No, of course not, because that's just part of the journey.
It has to be.
It has to be. Yeah. And you know this.
We'll talk all about it.
So I think for a lot of people today, they just want quick fixes. We're, we're in that spot in our society to where we have plastic surgeries for Christmas and Botox and now GLP-1s and, Ozempics and, all that stuff. And what does it do? It just magically, transforms people and
well, that's the perception.
That's the perception.
Right? Yep.
Yeah.
We got to talk about how these are just tools in a toolbox.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's a lot about what we're going to do.
And for some people, it's medically necessary.
Absolutely.
Which a lot of, quote, regular people don't understand.
Yes.
So seeing the results from the GLP-1s and weight loss products and stuff like that, what people who don't have pre-existing conditions or things of that nature don't understand is they're doing this because this is medically necessary.
Yes.
It's not a lifestyle choice, it's not a vanity choice, it's something that is going to prolong their existence.
Yep.
And I have a lot of people that I sit down with who is just like, can't you just give me a shot?
Yep.
That is going to magically, make me look like the picture that I have in my head of what I want to look like. The answer is, a resounding no.
Right.
If you want the body that you have in your head of what you want to look like,
there's some work.
You gotta
roll up them sleeves.
You gotta put in the work.
Yep.
You gotta,
eat right.
Yep. And that's your area.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I know about, nutrition and eating and, calories a day and all that fun stuff. You're a little bit more into it than I am.
Very much so, yeah.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
but when you talk to clients, and they say these things to you, it's like, okay, working out is definitely a part of it. That is your body longevity that we're talking about, right? For working out, like you want to work your muscles, you want to work your heart, all that stuff. We're doing this again. Oh. We're still good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, basically when people message me, they've always asked me about weight loss, and it's been, how do I get leaner? Just like you say, like I've got a beach vacation coming up, or I've got a wedding, or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And I have to be really honest about like the fact that it's a journey, it's a marathon and not a sprint, right? So I've helped quite a few people with macros and getting them to understand it, and people have been very successful. Then there's people that just have not bothered. Now that I'm getting closer, like I'm in my 40s now, that has changed. It is still a lot of women coming in and saying, I need to lose weight. But it's been much more about the perimenopause side of things.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So like, whereas like in their 20s and 30s, they would say things like, oh, I can't lose weight. But they would if they put the work in. Oops. Mm-hmm. Now they're really having a hard time losing weight. Okay. And the hormones do play a role, because there's the physiological things that happen to our bodies. Absolutely.
Right.
But it still comes down to you're eating too many calories in the end. Right. Mm-hmm. And why your calorie requirements have changed. Right.
Right.
As you get older. And the hardest part about it is the confronting of the truths. So you even said yourself, like I love my ice cream. Like they're honest with you on that part.
Right.
Women today that I'm seeing when I'm talking to them, it's like, they're like, oh, I used to have so much more energy, and I would run around and I could clean my whole house and I could do this and do that, and I just can't anymore, and I'm really tired. Mm. Right. Or, I used to do this and I used to do that. Basically saying they used to be a lot more active. Right.
Right.
And that, when they followed their macros that were assigned to them, or their calories, they would lose weight. Well, now they're tired. Perimenopause has kicked in. It's knocked at the door, and it's saying, no, bitch, you're going to go take a nap. instead of going for that 30-minute walk.
Right.
You know, because you've had a very long day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what plays a role, because your BMR, your basal metabolic rate has gone down, right? So your body's actually requiring less calories at rest because you're less active, right? Yeah. So there's physiological things that we will talk about here and there, but the biggest concern is that, I was able to lose weight when I really worked at it 10 years ago. Now I'm in my 40s, I'm doing the same things and I can't lose weight. And I'm like, you're not doing the same things.
Right.
Right. So we have that hard conversation, and, you know, people are like, well, it's just my hormones. I'm just going through perimenopause. Your hormones aren't causing you. That's not how this works. So like, that's not, trust me guys, that's not how this works. Your hormones will cause you to be more tired. It will cause you to want to be less active. You will move less. Okay. So this plays into the fitness part, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go into the gym for a half an hour, 40 minutes, an hour a day, that's great. Do it. Keep doing it. Always do it. If you're dedicated to it and you've been dedicated to it for 20 years, go, go, go. Yep. The food in the kitchen, right? If you've been successful with that, go, go, go. But it's outside of what you do for that hour in the gym, right? And those maybe 3 meals a day that you have planned, right? What are you doing outside of those? We have to look at those. Mm-hmm. So those have been really hard truths to talk to women about as they're in their 40s going through these problems and going through this stage of life. Mm-hmm. And look, I had to be honest with myself because I'm going through it too. I'm tired. I don't want to move as much. I mean, I went from being a crazy like mom with a young one, and I was running all the time. Once I was set with my macros and I was lifting and I was doing everything, I could lose weight, no problem. Yeah, I became tired and I stopped moving around less. And that's when things started happening. That's when weight started creeping back up. Mm-hmm. But I was honest with myself about it. I didn't blame my hormones. I just told myself, girlfriend, you need to check yourself. You know, what you once did is not going to work for you anymore. Mm-hmm. So these are the lessons, these are the learnings that I've had. These are the things we need to talk about, because there's so much crap out there about take this supplement and do this and do that. Same thing with men for performance, you know, and all of that in the gym. Like there's supplements and there's this, and we're going to talk all about supplements. Oh my God, yeah. Do we have to talk about supplements? But like, you know, the whole thing is that no matter what you do, no matter what lifestyle you lead, if you need GLP, even if you just want to take GLP-1s to help kickstart a weight loss, right? Because you know that you're heading down a really bad path or you're stuck. That's fine, but understand that something like that is a tool in the toolbox. You still have to do some exercise. You still have to do some work in the gym. And when you're on a GLP-1, protein is so incredibly important. You have to understand why protein synthesis is so important for your muscles and your retention, your muscle retention. Like all of these things are not being considered when doctors put people on these GLP-1s a lot. You know, it's not a part of their discussion. They'll say it in like passing, but most doctors don't have any, you know, they don't have much nutrition education, right? They've gotten a little bit of medical school but that's what people like registered dietitians are for, right? And insurance covers registered dietitians. You meet with them. They're wonderful people. I have actually 3 or 4 friends that are registered dietitians. They're wonderful. Mm-hmm. You really have to put in the work and talk with the right people and understand what it means, whether it's a GLP-1 or you're doing it naturally or whatever you're doing. You have to understand that we have something called the boring basics for a reason, right? It's the boring basics. I mean, it's true. You need to make sure you're watching what you're putting in your mouth, and you need to make sure you move your body. Right. You know, that's your field. Yep. The food is my field, and we're both helping people in the same way with that. But the concerns as we're seeing women get older, it's definitely changing. But because we have these, you know, the biggest thing right now is these GLP-1s and talking about them, and like people are taking them. And again, if you want to take them to jumpstart and help you down that journey, that's great. But we have to understand that it's not as magic as it sounds. Right. Yeah. So we'll definitely talk a lot about that more in future episodes. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious about that when you get new clients in the gym, do they talk to you freely about being on GLP-1s or being on supplements or anything like that? Or like, do you get that at all?
I get it's it's rare, but I have gotten clients who have said I'm on GLP-1, Wegovy, Ozempic, or whatever it is. Mainly the people that I get who are on those types of medications, they are looking for the strengthening piece from me, because obviously the weight loss they kind of have a handle on. So
that's like something they just don't need to think about it.
Yeah,
it's there,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like it's just happening,
right. It's just there.
Right.
So it's more or less, I want to gain some strengthening with this weight loss that is happening.
Right.
Because I feel that I'm getting a little bit, not so much weaker. I mean, that's probably how they feel. But it's more or less, I either want to, push my limits a little bit.
Yeah. They feel more confident.
And they feel a little bit more empowered.
Right.
So, which is great.
That's you put that in the pro column for GLP-1s. Like it happens for a lot of people. Right?
Yeah, because it kickstarts something in the brain. Like, oh shit! Like
look at how capable I can be.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Because this person may have never had that, physicality before, to where they're like, oh, I feel a little bit lighter, so
maybe I will go for that 5-mile run.
Right. Or why don't I transform all this into like a huge 180 for me? So what I
love those stories, by the way.
They're great. Which is why I do what I do. But it's mostly for women. And I get why. And
are we going to say the S word?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We're going to touch on all this a little bit later on the men's side.
Stay tuned.
But women who look to me for like, I need help with, strength building. But the number one problem I get, and the number one, comment I get from female clients who want to start strengthening is, I have no fucking clue what I'm doing.
Right. That is so common. So common. Because I get questions.
Yeah.
What do you do in the gym? And I'm like, oh.
Hold on. Like that's a whole Pandora's box. And once you open it, it can go one of two ways. It can be either really good, and obviously if you don't know what you're doing, you are going to hurt yourself. Yes. You're going to persuade yourself, I don't want to do this. So
once you start doing it, it's hard.
Right.
It's fucking hard.
Yeah. And you know this, as somebody who, having a child, coming back from it, and
all the problems from that, which we'll talk about too.
Yeah, right. But a lot of when they're intimidated, especially if they're going to like a, commercial gym, to where there's the free weight area, right?
Yep.
And
I'll be the first person in that free weight area. Like I go in there and I hammer, but I do see girls that are intimidated when I go to gyms.
You're the exception.
I am.
Because
Because
what I usually get is like, I don't want to go over there because you have a lot of guys who look like they've been like eating steroids for years.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes I have to talk them down and be like, do you understand how long these people have been doing this just to get to what they look like now?
You know that they also had that fear the first time they walked in. Even guys have that. You know, like I remember having that when I really first started with the weight training, and I was going to the YMCA.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look at the free weights on the wall, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like it was whoa. And I saw a bunch of people doing deadlifts and all these kinds of stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know that I'll ever be that person.
Right.
But I wanted to become that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went through the journey.
Well, of course.
But that's the thing, is like, that's not for me. They think that.
Right.
Right.
And, you kind of have to redirect them and just kind of say, yeah, that is for you.
Mm-hmm.
You just haven't gotten there yet.
Yep.
And
you're like, here, take my hand.
Yeah. And that's
take you.
exactly, I was just thinking that.
This is why we're such good friends.
I know. Yeah, it's like, I'm going to help you to the best of my ability. We're going to wait around with our galoshes in the muck for a while before you feel comfortable to do this on your own.
That's right.
So.
Like, you might not even pick up a weight for the first, 4 weeks.
When I first started training 2 decades ago, I never wanted to pick up a free weight.
Right.
Only because I didn't think, one, I was capable of, like, having, correct form, and, I'd look, like, for me, back then, it was all about how I looked when I exercised or lifted. And I'm like, I look like a fucking idiot doing this stuff.
The S word.
Yes.
That we're not going to say yet.
Yes, that we're not going to say yet. It will come out.
Mm-hmm.
But
we got a whole episode. Multiple episodes on that.
But it's intimidating if you've never, set foot in a gym, or you've never, even if you've set foot in a gym, if I'm working out next to a guy who is 6'5", and he's shredded and cut and, all those things. Yeah, I'm going to be intimidated.
Yep.
As a 5'3", 44-year-old guy, like, can I handle my own? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in general, yeah, but, you line me up with somebody who's taller, who in my head, looks a little bit better, yeah, I'm going to be intimidated, but I know that's, it's something that my brain is making up.
Yes. Our brains lie to us. They love, because they want us to stay in that safe space.
It's funny because I gave a talk yesterday to a elite dancer group. They're competing next week in a national competition, and I was going through some things about how your brain latches itself onto a story. So your brain craves a storyline, right? So if you do not make a storyline, your brain is going to automatically make one up for you. Blanks. So if I'm working out next to somebody and I'm just like, I don't think about it, my brain is automatically going to, look at this person and say, he's better than you.
Yes.
And this is why.
Yep.
And even though you know that it's not true, subconsciously your brain is making those, rewirings and saying, he's better than you. His muscles are bigger. He's more
Look at him.
He's more likable. He probably, and this part shouldn't matter, but your brain's going to tell you he gets more sex than you.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It shouldn't matter, but it does.
But it does. Yep.
So for an average person coming in to, ask me about, can we do anything other than free weights? It's like, well, we can, but you're probably not going to see the results that you want.
That's right.
We can work up to them, of course.
I mean, you have all those machines and everything too.
You have the machines, and
it's a good start, I guess.
Yeah. I loved how you rolled your eyes.
Oh, I have such beef with machines.
Yes, so do I. And I will say this for machines versus free weights. Machines are great. They have their purpose, but machines are built to do one thing and one thing only, and that is the exercise that it is built to do.
Right.
You can't deviate from anything other than what it's done or built to do.
Right.
Free weights, obviously, are a lot more liquidated.
Possibilities are endless.
Yeah, free weights are a lot more liquidated. You
Yep.
are at the, freedom to do whatever you want to do with them. And the same goes with, bands and kettlebells and
I love bands.
And bands are
I
great.
love bands. That we got to talk about bands one of these days.
Like
people need to know how awesome bands can be a whole workout, and it will kick your ass.
Yeah, bands can be very, very effective if you allow them to be.
Yep.
But yeah, the whole machines versus free weights and other sorts of equipment. If somebody asked me to just build them a machine only workout, I usually give them the disclaimer that it's going to be very boring. It's going to be very repetitive because there's only so many machines to go around.
Yep.
Now, free weights, I could give you tons and tons and tons of variations on on the same exercises for the same muscle groups and stuff like that. But
you want to know a really interesting exercise with a free weight that I learned, a long time ago, but that blew my mind?
Sup?
Halos. Oh my God. Halos are when you take the weight and you go around and that works your shoulders.
Yep.
It is not about front raises, lateral raises, delt raises. Halos. Oh my God. When I learned how to do halos, they're one of my favorite things to do for shoulders in my traps. Love them.
Halos are one of the first things I ever learned.
Yeah.
Did I do them? Well, of course not.
Well, no, because it's all about mobility.
Yeah.
The one thing we struggle with is mobility in our bodies.
Well, I think as we get older, obviously our joints are going to be a little bit problematic, a lot more temperamental.
A lot more short, we don't have the length that we should have in them, right?
Yeah. The muscles are not going to be as eccentrically loaded as we want them to be.
Yep.
So there's a lot of compression, and there's a lot of lengthening that we need to do, especially in our shoulder area, because that's where most of us carry our stress.
Women, frozen shoulder, that's a big perimenopause symptom. Shoulders, shoulder mobility, shoulder band work, shoulder halos, all of that.
Right.
You want to prevent frozen shoulder? There you go.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And my mom had frozen shoulder about 5-6 years ago.
And
it
sucks.
And exactly. Because I remember she was at a point where she couldn't even get her arm over, or even, I don't even want to say over her head, too.
Just up. Yep.
Yeah. And she went to see a physical therapist, and he gave her the rote exercises that most PTs usually use for frozen shoulder. And she was very proactive. She did them at home. She did them when she went to PT, and now she's at a point where everything's back to normal. And
but she's at risk. We're at risk nonstop for frozen shoulder.
Absolutely.
So you just have to carry those mobility exercises.
Well, see, as a man, all that was new information.
We're going to learn a lot about things here together.
We are going to learn a lot about things.
This is going to help you as you coach women clients.
But exactly. Yeah. Plus, what you said about testosterone and you guys only having 1/10 of what we have. So And one of the biggest things that I hear from women is, especially when they want to start strength training, I don't want to turn into a bodybuilder. And,
or I don't want to look like a man.
And I don't want to,
right.
I don't want to be like this behemoth.
Yeah.
Girls,
you know how hard it is to do that?
And that's normally what I tell them. I'm like, one, I'm not going to train you that way.
Right.
And two, you are not built that way. Reason being, men have 10 times the testosterone a woman does.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And like you said, yes, I myself have, struggled with the whole testosterone thing. And it's really a weird space that guys are around my age are in these days. Because what we're seeing is testosterone is starting to tank.
Yep.
A lot earlier than, past generations.
I hear a lot that it's environmental.
It's a lot of it's environmental. A lot of it, has outside factors that, and which is weird in itself. I've struggled with low testosterone probably undiagnosed probably for 15 years, but diagnosed for the last 5 years.
Thank God diagnosed.
Thank God diagnosed, because I felt like a fucking zombie for most of my 20s and 30s.
You're just like, I guess this is how I am.
Well, I mean,
no
really,
one's helping you.
Well, and that's the thing, a lot of guys, even friends of mine, they ask me now, do you think I should, how did you figure out you had low testosterone? And I had enough, schooling and, this is my arena where, this is important, that I had enough know-how to kind of get my levels checked on my own without my doctor having to say, you might want to do this. So when somebody tells me this is how I feel, I just feel tired. I just feel, just something's off, but nothing else is wrong with me. This is usually where I tell them, you may want to get your levels checked, bro, because it might be low testosterone. And, just because, and I'm going to point out that the levels for testosterone are extremely large. So what's considered normal for a man is, I think the starting number is 300, and it can go anywhere to 1,000 and over.
Yep.
So before I started testosterone injections, my levels were 274.
And 300 at the base, that's low.
And that is low.
Yeah.
So, and what you have to look at the acceptable levels are, the lowest you have to think about what an 80-year-old man's looks like, right? Yeah. So 300 is just base functioning.
Right.
So I basically had the testosterone levels of a 90-year-old.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
so, and
that's brutal.
And being in a 30-some-year-old, male's body, it kind of sucks. Just energy-wise and mood-wise.
Yeah.
So when I started getting testosterone injections this past October, you don't notice a change right away, obviously. Right. So within 2 weeks, I had a little bit more energy.
Yep.
And, things started, I started noticing things. Now, a couple months in, the last times I got my levels checked, I think it was 1,117.
That's great.
Which is, it sounds like a huge dump, which,
it is.
It is. Yeah. But I'm finally at the levels where I naturally should be. So
And it feels good for you.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
I have less days where I'm like, I don't want to fucking talk to anybody.
Yep.
And
I can relate to that because my hormones were tanking.
Yeah.
Don't talk, don't come near me.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I had like a 3-year period where I didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah, and me working, with the public, with teaching kids every single day, you kind of have to put on this, facade where you're like, okay, today we're going to learn about this. And, and half the time I was like, I really don't want to effing do this.
Yeah.
But you have to push yourself.
Yep.
So testosterone for guys obviously is very important because it's our hormone. It's what makes us guys.
Yep.
So when I wasn't of the levels that I'm at now, and this is more of a psychological thing, you feel like you're less of a guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a terrible thing to do to your psyche.
Yeah, because I remember around my other guy friends, they would be, their looks were just, they would look a little bit more mannish in ways of musculature and, that kind of stuff. And, I remember saying to myself at times, I'm like, why can't I just look, closer to that than, a skinny, nondescript dude. And so when I started, on these shots and I started working out more consistently, one, you notice that you develop, musculature a lot quicker. Which I was very shocked at. I remember the first week I worked out 3 days in a row and I was already feeling delineations between my shoulders and the upper part of my biceps. And I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Yes!
I'm like, I've waited years for this. But it's the truth.
Yeah.
And there are other emotional side effects, positive emotional side effects that come along with this.
Yeah.
And I, urge any guy that's listening to this who is feeling like something's off, you might want to get your blood checked just to get your levels, just
Highly
to get
recommend.
just to get your baseline.
Yep. You don't know where you're going to go until you know where you came from.
Yeah.
Right.
And nobody really keeps an eye on this until there's a problem.
Bingo.
Or you reach a certain age.
Yep.
So usually with guys, it's usually maybe mid-40s that your doctor might be like, well, you might want to have your levels checked. So the thing about PCPs are great with a lot of stuff. They're not so great in being schooled as to advancements in hormone therapy and just keeping on top of that stuff. I always tell clients, I'm like, if it is not in a medical journal or a medical, textbook, they're really not going to know that much about
That's right.
what the current, trends are for it. So and with hormones, regardless of whether it's, primarily for men, primarily for women, hormone stuff is rapidly changing.
Oh my God,
all
is it
the
ever.
time.
Yeah.
So whether that's, hormone therapy or some other thing in that general area, we kind of have to do our own research.
And be our own advocates.
Yep. Because if you aren't feeling the way you think you should be feeling at your age and for your for your gender, something's off.
And that's the thing that a lot of doctors now, like I learned that there are Menopause Association certified OBGYNs.
Yes.
And there's actually menopauseassociation.org or something like that. I forget. You can go there, you can look up your area, and you can find an OB that you can go to that will be. They are generally very, very well versed in the latest research of hormone therapy for women. And they will absolutely, now it depends on your state, unfortunately, states' rights. Like Pennsylvania, I have to go to a brick and mortar to get testosterone shots. There's not a lot of doctors still that will prescribe them for women. But my OB was tickled pink when she heard what my numbers were and what they are at now, because I was at like 7, which like equivalent of you being at like 275. I was at a 7. I should be at about 79. You know where mine are now? 79.
Good.
And I feel great. Right? I'm not like through the roof, the Hulk or anything like that. But the point is that you have to find doctors that will listen to you, that will advocate, help you advocate, will help you get that medication, because insurance will cover some of these things. Insurance doesn't cover testosterone for women yet.
Right.
They're working on it, because there are so many advances in hormone replacement therapy, and there's so much more conversation around it for women. Like, I know my husband could go to the doctor and get prescribed testosterone, no problem, if his levels were lower.
Right.
And insurance would cover it, right? Not so much for me, so I have to work a little harder for that.
Right.
But you would have to pry that out of my cold, dead hands. You are never taking testosterone away from me.
Right. Right.
My cognition is better. My muscle recovery is better. Like, I have positive effects from it.
Right.
And there aren't any detrimentals. I think a hummingbird just flew over to say hi to us.
Oh.
Anyway. So it's the same thing. Like, you talk about the benefits of testosterone, right?
Right.
Find a doctor that you can talk to, right? That will listen to you, that will help you on that journey. And there's telehealth also.
Right.
There's that.
Yeah.
There's Blokes and Joy. There's MIDI Health. There's these other ones. Blokes and Joy has treatments for men and women.
Yeah.
There's hers. Right. They all require blood work. They all require things for you meet with real hormone specialists.
Right.
Real doctors. Right. That's why these exist, because the medical system that we have, the doctors are not keeping up with the research.
Right. And with my testosterone, I didn't go through my PCP. I went through a wellness clinic. Who it's Dr. Victor Prisk, who is a champion bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And now he's a plastic surgeon. So he has a wellness clinic within his practice.
Wonderful.
And I was referred there by a friend of mine who is an amateur bodybuilder. And he's like, you might want to,
come on over to the side.
you may want to go see. And so, like, it's weird because when I used to work in downtown Pittsburgh, I belonged to a gym, and Victor Prisk was also a member there. And I never had talked to him. But I remember just seeing him, and like, he was huge at the time, like physically huge.
He was like a hardcore bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, he has his pro card.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So, yeah, he's been in it to win it for a long time.
Yeah.
So when I heard that he had a clinic, closer to, I was like, sure, why not? So I had my levels checked, and they were pretty much in the can at the time.
Yeah.
And the nurse practitioner who was working with me, she was like, you're an excellent candidate for this stuff. I didn't start out with injections because I didn't want to go that route yet. Yep. So they have different things that you can do, like creams, which I started out with, and didn't work that great. So in October of last year, I just bit the bullet, and I was like, fine, let's do this. And like, luckily my sister's a nurse, so she gives me the injections twice a week. So all that, like, I'm not having to take the burden of like sticking a needle in the wrong place,
Right.
and you know, like
my neighbor taught me because she's a nurse.
Yeah,
and I do
so,
it.
Yeah.
You're
So
multiple. You do multiple times a week, right?
I
Twice a
do
week?
it twice a week.
Right. I only do mine
Monday
once.
and Thursdays. And yeah, like I said,
It's been a game changer.
no brain fog whatsoever.
Right? The brain fog.
Yeah,
gone.
like cognition
Yeah.
and just like locking in.
Clarity.
Yeah.
Nothing but clarity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's great.
Yep. And that's
Wonderful.
That's the biggest problem with women when they hit perimenopause, the brain
Yeah.
fog. That's one of the biggest symptoms outside of like them telling you I get hot flashes.
Yeah.
It's the brain fog.
Yeah, and like, I hate bringing this up because it's so cliche for men, but like the sexual side effects too.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, not having, strong erections,
Yeah.
or not having erections at all,
Yeah.
which was my case, which was,
Yeah.
it was, very upsetting because I'm
Sexual
like,
health is so important.
yeah,
Like,
and
it's so important.
and it sucks because nobody wants to talk about it.
It's not. It's it's taboo for a lot of people.
Which
It's embarrassing.
Which
I don't give a
shouldn't
shit.
be.
It
Like,
shouldn't. We're here to change that, by the way.
I'm the type of person who I'm like, okay, look, it's literally just a penis.
Yep. Are you getting a hard on or aren't you?
Yeah. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable enough with, myself to be like, it's just a penis.
That's right. That's right.
That's all it should be.
Yep.
So, like, if, and I've learned the older I get, one of the biggest health indicators for a man is if something is wrong, that is not working.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I figured out early on that, oh, my testosterone's bad.
Yeah.
So like guys, you can't be ashamed to talk about your wiener.
That's right.
Because if it's not working, then something's off.
Yep. You want it to work.
You want it to work. We all
want it to work.
We all want it to work. In our best interest.
That's
But
right.
I think we should stop there.
Yeah, I think that's a good stopping point.
Yeah.
As I turn red, like why am I turning red?
Right. Like,
Stupid.
good God. Like, but we'll talk about
We're going to continue all this.
Yeah, we're going to continue talking about wieners and
testosterone levels
and other stuff. But we want to thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
And coming on this journey with us, because I think it's going to be very fun, very informative.
Yep.
And I know because I know I am, especially a man viewing the woman side of
Ditto,
things.
honey. Ditto.
Because men are just as, if not more complex than women.
That's right.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But we will talk to you next time.
Yes, we
and
will.
We'll have some more gems for you.
Yeah, we'll drop some hints on what's coming in the next episode. So
Yeah,
don't you?
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
You
We've
have
had
a
fun.
good day, everybody. We'll
Yep.
talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.